I made a mistake and everyone at work criticized me. It's because I sent HR an email that she thought was poorly worded. Get over yourself, Barb. You think I'm annoying? You're the one that's annoying.
Don't worry, I can help you with this. What was the mistake?
Oh, I didn't really make a mistake. This is just what goes through my head. And it always ends up with me getting fired again. Not really fired. I'm just convinced I will be.
Oh, that could be the anxiety talking.
What a freaking liar she is.
Welcome to the Career Corrective, your career lifeline that gives you laugh lines with Jenny and Allie.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are talking about the sneaky, lying jerk
Yeah,
anxiety is.
such a jerk.
Total jerk.
I'm so mad about anxiety.
We were doing a series on habits, which I loved, but I realized and we discussed that it's habits are bigger than just a series. So much of what we're going to talk about on the show to help you in your career and with your career stress and reach your goals is developing strong habits. So we're taking a little pause with that for now to talk about anxiety because I realized recently there's this theme emerging with coaching some great people that anxiety is just buried in there and we believe it's stupid, ugly lies. So I wanted to do an episode for you all to see how we can help you with that.
Let's do it because I know you've coached people with anxiety. So, can
Mhm.
you tell our anxious achievers listening today ways you've seen manifest, as it relates to work?
Our silly little skit in the beginning paid an homage to a couple of them, but the way it really comes up at work is you think you've always made a mistake. You'll play this endless loop, convincing yourself, I didn't word that email perfectly. I triple checked the report, but I'm sure I didn't do something right, or there's a formula on there that's not correct. And you just constantly think something isn't done. I think of it kind of like when people leave the house and they think, well, I don't know if anyone irons anymore, but
I steam now.
yeah, you steam, put your ice cubes in there.
Wait, really? Is that a trick?
Yeah, you put ice cubes.
You're like, duh, Jenny.
No, it's more important that we give these laundry tips. You put some ice cubes in the dryer.
Can I write this down real quick? Where are the ice cubes going?
In the dryer. Wait, let me Google it. Let's get this resolved right
Please,
now.
please.
Ice
For me to
cubes.
put ice cubes in the dryer is making me very nervous.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm doubting myself now.
You just rub it on the clothes and they're wet, but
But they Oh yeah, it says ice cube dryer trick. A way to remove wrinkles from clothes is put ice cubes in the dryer.
huh,
Put the dryer on high for 10 minutes. Remove the clothes and shake them out.
that's amazing.
But I didn't mean to give you anxiety in talking about anxiety.
No, I
Dryer, laundry
did.
anxiety.
I I do have a little laundry anxiety.
But it's that feeling of you've always made a mistake. This can also be in thinking about what your coworkers feel about you, that they're judging you, or that they don't think you deserve a promotion, and you can take things that they say the wrong way. If you walk into a room and coworkers are laughing, you'll think they're
Right.
definitely laughing about me.
I've noticed for me personally, I get anxiety when I have to be on camera during a meeting. And I've started to pay attention to how my other coworkers behave when they're on camera, and it seems like not a big deal for them. They're happy to chit chat and totally comfortable with it, but for me, it gives me such anxiety to have to talk in front of them. And it's like I know it's my fear and it's not a big deal, but I get very anxious, and I in my head I get it that I'm going to stumble on my words. I'm going to say something stupid. I kind of get into a tizzy a little bit.
This is something I help people with all the time, and it's something I've had to overcome myself. I think there's a bunch of different things going on there.
Okay.
One is that there's people who love attention and people who don't, just
Right.
for starters. And in my experience, the people who love attention and want to talk all the time have the least to say. And I think it's funny because it's why it's taken me so long to do this podcast and to do our social media and to do coaching, because I have so much interest in helping people, but I don't like attention. So it's kind of doesn't really work if you want to, do a business and get the word out there, but not get in front of people. And I've
Right.
always had so much more to say. Early in my career, I had so much more to say in meetings than I ever did because I was experiencing exactly what you're describing. So the first thing, and I'm not sure why we haven't talked about this before, but I'll give you some stuff to try here, and this has worked for myself and for people I've coached. But I think that a lot of what they're sharing in these meetings can feel fake, can feel contrived. The chit chat and that's a turnoff for me. I don't know if that's
Yes.
part of what you're feeling,
Absolutely.
but anytime it's fake, it just feels like, well, I don't have anything to say. What I started to do is just tell myself there's going to be chit chat. They have to, this is their personality. It's not mine. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to focus on that. What I started to focus on is somebody at some point is going to say something that I genuinely agree with.
Okay.
And when they do, I'm going to take that opportunity to speak up just for starters, agree with them. Great point, so and so, that just to get comfortable with. I mean, we're not news anchors. So if you don't like attention and looking at yourself on camera while you're talking, it's weird.
It
It's
is weird.
definitely weird. For
Yeah.
people who don't want to be in the spotlight, it's not a natural feeling, making it a positive since you're a positive person, but just finding something that they say that you like, and then you can tag it on the next time with something that's a great idea. I've seen this work before, and tie it back to something that you've had a positive result with, and then you can just build from there to get more and more. I think first it's about let me get comfortable just literally speaking, not even caring about what I'm saying. And then as you gain that momentum, you can start to go farther, and then you'll end up talking more while you're on camera.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I had many meetings yesterday that were on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to push myself a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the last meeting of the day, it was quite a large number of people that were in this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a question about something. So I said, you got to do it. You have to speak up. And I did. And it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
That's another great idea. Just asking a question, get it out there, and then you're done. And then it's on them to provide the information. That's a wonderful way to get started. And if it was your last meeting of the day, I'm sure you were also it was rose hour. So that probably helped as well.
Yeah, I know. I was like, can we speed this up? I have things to do. So just answer my question and let's move on. Yeah.
I won't say where, but I worked at this place, and I worked remotely because obviously,
Fake.
I don't do office. I don't do commutes ever. But there was all this office gossip that I did not care about, but they would just talk about on meetings that the VP, I can't even say what department I'm like, I just can't say it, but they would have rosé hour, literally
What?
drinking in the day. Yes. And I think that's so funny. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I just was like, what?
They put
You
that
have
out there?
time? Yeah. Yeah, they thought it was cool.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute
You're
that you
so
guys are all
cool.
tying a load on during the day.
We rosé all day while you all do the work.
Right. That's so rude.
Another theme that the way anxiety manifests at work is that you're always afraid you're going to say the wrong thing or that you're going to be in trouble.
Yes. Yes. How do you deal with that?
I think the first thing is to look at the data. I think we've talked about one trick before where when somebody sends you an email where they're thanking you for something, I know you get these all the time where
Yeah.
somebody thanks you for going above and beyond. You
Yes.
want to save that email and make your little brag folder.
Right.
It's really not a brag folder. It's just a
But it
reminder of
is.
how
It is. Let's be honest.
you print that out in colored font, hang it on your wall, laminate. No, you
No.
just start to save the data of how you perform at work. So anytime you get a thank you, anytime you get a good response, or anytime you get feedback that speaks to your work, save it. And when you're overthinking and afraid you're going to be in trouble, take a peek in that folder to see what are you really doing at work? How are you really performing at work? And if you do get in trouble for something, just look at what it is. You know, if your boss says, "Do you have a minute?" If your boss is a jerk, you might have every right to be nervous that you're going to be reprimanded because they just yell at everybody. It doesn't mean you're the problem,
Right.
but just start to look at the data and tune into even a conversation with your boss. What are they being reasonable? You know, and if there's something that comes out of it that is, you know, you were reprimanded, then you can always work on it. There's
Yeah.
always a way,
There is.
even with the impossibles. The impossible bosses and the impossible burgers. Have you had them?
I have never had an impossible burger.
Okay.
Have you?
If yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a meatless burger. I think it's delicious.
Created impossible chicken nuggets and things like that. They've branched out.
Speaking of worrying, another way that anxiety manifests at work is that, and these days, it's not unfounded to worry about this, but a lot of people worry that they're going to be fired. But there have been so many layoffs over the past few years. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about anxiety. You're start to misinterpret things, read into things, and just start to, I don't want to say it's a paranoia, but I have seen a lot of people worry about are they going to be fired? And we parse through what's been really going on at work, and the company that they're working for is doing well. So there really is nothing to worry about. And in all the people that I've helped with that, they were never actually getting fired. It's just anxiety can skew how you perceive things, and then you overanalyze and you convince yourself.
Right. Yes. Whew.
One more that I've seen, and I think you mentioned this before earlier, but you anticipate that you're going to fail on a future task. So a lot of this comes up when people have to deliver a project or a presentation, or they just let things pile up as far as emails. And sometimes you have your job, I shouldn't say sometimes, you always have your job to do, but then you have all the extra stuff. So
Yeah.
as things pile up, your anxiety piles up, and then you start to say, I'm not going to be able to get this done. It's not going to go well. And presentations are their whole separate fear. But kind of what you were mentioning too about just being on a video call, if you think of that even more significantly where the attention is on you, it's giving a presentation. But I've helped a lot of people with that, and there's just some good exercises you can do. The best thing for giving a presentation, in my mind,
Yeah.
is talking to yourself while you're in the car or on your commute or while you're in the shower, anything that you're doing. I think the more you can say your words out loud rather than reviewing the information does wonders for building your confidence to give a
Okay.
presentation.
Okay. So here's a scenario. What if you're giving the presentation and you're kind of freaking out a little bit
Yeah.
mid presentation? You get it started and then the anxiety hits, like something triggers it. How do you
Oh.
get yourself back on track?
One thing that I've found to be successful as I feel it raising, and I've used this and helped other people with it, is to touch your thumb to each of your fingers. So you can, if you're in front of a room, you can just put your one hand in front of the other for a moment, or you can just put it down by your side. But if you touch your thumb to your pinky, your ring finger, middle, pointer, and just keep going back, it will bring you into the present moment. The sense of touch that you're, and it distracts your brain basically. The other thing you can do is look to the side, which may look a little silly, but if you look to the right and then look to the left, it will shut down the part of the brain that causes anxiety. So anything to bring yourself back to the present moment and interrupt whatever that spiral is.
Okay.
Very simple.
Would you suggest just stopping your presentation and just walking out?
Yes,
Going
that's
to the
another.
bathroom, getting a drink of water, just bailing on it completely. Is that
Yes.
also another trick,
Get
tip?
in your car.
And get and leave. Get out of
Never
there.
come back. Never
Right.
come back.
That's what I
Problem
thought.
solved.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Write that down.
Get in your 57 Chevy and leave a dust trail. Bye.
Oh
Oh
dear.
my gosh.
Well, I think it would be helpful for our listeners to talk about this article from Psychology Today.
Yeah.
It's the 5 lies anxiety tells.
Yes.
So the first lie is, you won't make it without me.
And anxiety, she wants you to believe that your life would crumble into chaos and you would forget your responsibilities. She kind of masquerades as a motivator. And this used to be true for me. I used to think, keep pushing, keep pushing. You have to, I would get myself into a tizzy to motivate myself. I would just over schedule, overdo, and it would be a way to keep me on track. I was just constantly in the spiral of doing too much and fast, and I think that having that felt like a motivator, but it's really just fueled by anxiety. So you can overdo, and then you're waiting till the last minute on a bunch of different things, but you're always busy with something.
Right.
So having compassion, which I've talked about before, compassion, self-compassion, it changed my life and it's how I coach people. It's the go-to antidote to anxiety. And it just is okay, I'm going to get it all done. Start really small. And if I don't, it's okay. Progress, not perfection. Just being very gentle and starting to see how compassion can let this dissipate. It can let the anxiety go, and you're still getting everything done. But the best result from being compassionate instead of anxious is that you're more consistent. All the habits we're talking about, that's where the habits really started for me. I bought a book 20 years ago about self compassion. It changed so much for me. That thread is in a lot of what I find to be successful, especially for career stress.
Okay. Here's a question. Say you're being compassionate with yourself. You made an oopsie on the call, and due to your anxiety, you're being compassionate, but your boss is not a compassionate person.
Right?
How would you overcome that then? Like, if you're being compassionate and you cut yourself a break, but your boss doesn't cut you a break, that would create more anxiety, I would think. Say they criticize you after the call. So you made the oopsie, the call's ended, you talk to yourself, you give yourself the compassion, but then your boss doesn't see it that way and is upset with you.
Great question. The compassion is still going to be your key because it's going to empower you to advocate for yourself. And
Okay.
and it feeds into emotional intelligence. What would be if your boss is criticizing you and you're not being compassionate with yourself, you're going to pile on
Right.
in your mind and agree. When you have compassion, you can take a deep breath and break it down with data. They're criticizing you, and you can say, own it. Yes, I made a mistake. That is correct. And, it's just take the fuel out
Uh-huh.
of whatever they're saying. It would be, I appreciate the feedback. Even if you don't mean it, just handling it with high EQ in the moment of the conversation. Thank you so much for the feedback. I will definitely take that into consideration and use it for future. And whatever you need to say to get through that, then when you can get yourself some space,
Yeah.
analyze what was there any data in there? If so, then that's something you can work on. If it's just
Okay.
them being ridiculous, then that's part of what's causing your stress. And then it's working on having terrible boss, but you're not then taking their opinion and letting it affect how you feel about yourself, which is not
Right.
easy, but
No.
it's kind of like sorting laundry. If they're coming at you with this feedback, what's reasonable? Is there anything of value in there? If not, then you really are focusing on how to have compassion for yourself because your boss is a jerk. And
Right.
that's a different issue than you letting it become how you feel about yourself, like, oh, I made a mistake and they're right and that was terrible. It's just not necessary.
Okay. Like, another tip too, you could say, thank you for your feedback, Martha. And then in your head, think, I'm definitely going to take your lunch tomorrow and throw it in the garbage. Thank you so much for your feedback.
Yes,
I'm going to
that
be
is.
passive aggressive in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you do, she kind of deserves it.
She does. But thank you so much for the feedback.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for, I mean, you're lying in that scenario, but you're in an
Yeah,
unreasonable situation. So Martha earned it.
she did. All right. The next one is, bad things will happen in the future. If you don't start grieving them now, you won't be ready.
Yes. This is one of anxiety's nastiest lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about this when this is happening in your personal life. It's you don't want to get close to people, or when you get close to people, you fear that you're going to lose them, or if you get too comfortable in your job, it's not going to work out. Of course, it's natural to feel the fear. It's part of being human. But if you don't identify it and call it out, then it's driving the car. Like you're no longer in the driver's seat of your life. You're going to work every day afraid that, oh, I'm too comfortable. This is definitely not going to last. It's
Yeah.
just looking at it and saying, I see you, fear. I hear you talking, and I got this. It will manifest also in the what ifs. What if that happens? Oh, and that person got fired, so probably I will. Or that person was too comfortable in their job, and then it could be even people from your personal life, nothing to do with the company you're working at. And you can just start to say, well, that may be true, but if I'm fired, I'll deal with it. Just call it out to say, what's the worst that can happen for real? And then what are the things that I would do to handle it? Sometimes having that plan, getting that thought out into the light of day can just help it dissipate.
Right. Yeah. It's also, you're not being present. You're not enjoying the present moment by doing that, by letting the anxiety take over.
Yes. And you were asking about this before, if you get anxious in the middle of a presentation, but it
Yeah.
also could work here, bringing yourself back to the present moment. There's this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 game.
Okay.
5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And if you're
Ooh.
in the middle of a meeting, then you probably can't taste anything. You just go through your senses and
Yes.
put them onto something else. Another thing that I love to snap you back, come into yourself and be in the present moment, is to
Yeah.
move. Just walking. If you're working from home, this is easy. But if you're in a spot where you can move, when you're walking, you're also doing the thing with your eyes where you're looking left and right, which shuts down the part of the brain where anxiety lives. So I think just moving is a magical way to snap you out of an anxiety spiral.
Okay. So my advice was good then. You could just move out of the meeting.
Yes. I went every time when you said that before, I just pictured Forrest Gump running.
Just
He just and never stop running.
running. It's great exercise too. So it's a win.
Win-win.
Absolutely. Okay. I like that. The next one is, I am responsible for your success.
Yeah, again, anxiety is a liar, and she'll whisper in
Ugh,
your ear,
such a
convincing you,
jerk.
yeah, without this frantic energy that you won't accomplish anything. In effect, it's taking credit for your success, that you're fueled by this. The way you can tell if this is happening for you, everything is you're ahead of it. You're always looking to be ahead of it. Now, we did talk about being proactive on a couple of episodes, and that is
Right.
still good, but it's just this hypervigilance where it's almost manic. You're constantly in productivity mode. You have to have balance. So the way to do that is to really think about, and we did talk about this in our being proactive episode where we talked about being strategic, but really focus on what matters to you. If you
Yes.
want to be hyper vigilant on certain things, that's okay, but it's going to be something authentic. What really is your passion, or what is something that you need to get done, and organize that for yourself so that you're not doing that pace for every little thing. When somebody doesn't prioritize and anxiety is fueling them, you just run yourself ragged. The way you can break that cycle is to just pause and get clear on what matters to you. And I think the idea of habits is so powerful, those atomic habits we discussed, because if you get into a little tiny cycle of motion on things that matter and see the progress you can make with that, then you'll be excited to do it again and to keep the positive cycle going. And then you can just start to let the rest kind of fall away.
Yeah. Yep. Focus on the positive. I love that. Yeah. All right. The next lie. If you let me go, all the bad things I warned you about will happen.
This was true for me more than there's no way I can overstate how anxiety used to be a false protector for me. So I
Yeah.
love to help people. Clearly, that's what
Obviously.
I've always wanted to do, is coach and help.
Yeah.
And even went to college for consulting, which I thought would be a great way to help businesses. I had the false belief, and I had to work through this, that as long as I'm helping and I don't ask for anything in return, then I'll be okay. And I've been working on this dream for 20 years, but really thoughtfully for the past 10 years, just learning everything I could learn, making sure that when I do decide to put something out there, it is so quality and helpful and real. And I didn't realize that part of it was that I was stalling because I mentioned before, I don't like attention. And that's something that I had this false belief that if I put something out there, then everything that's good in my life is going, because I've had a lot of great luck and a lot of good things have happened to me. And I thought, if I go over to that other side, where I'm putting it out there, then that's when
Yeah.
it's all gonna fall apart.
Right. Yes.
And she was anxiety in spades right there. That is bull. It's not true.
No. No. But I think
So,
that's very not like common for people doing this. Starting something new, something that's so important to them.
yeah.
I think those are natural thoughts.
Yes, we call all of you our anxious achievers because we believe we are anxious achievers. That's why we know that what we're talking about and what I'm talking about works, because it's literally like the hair club for men precedent.
We are also the client, guys.
Yes. But the best thing that kicks this anxiety in the face, and this is really the heart of all of why I wanted to do this episode, is that you don't see that it's anxiety talking. You believe it's embedded in what you're thinking, and then you believe what you think. I asked Jenny about 15 years ago, and I still laugh about this. I got really into Eckhart Tolle. This was
Oh
part
my
of my
gosh.
journey.
This was so good. Okay. Yeah.
And I asked you to read his original book, and we had a book club. I was obsessed, but I never really knew some of the things that he was talking about. It was kind of
Oh.
too theoretical for me.
Yeah. I
But
was lost half the time, but I mean, it was great. It was great.
I'm always roping you into all this stuff of like, let's
Yeah.
learn this, let's learn that. But the thing that is so helpful from all of his work is we don't need to believe our thoughts. And when you really start to see that a thought is completely false and you were convinced it was true, this can manifest for people as worrying about their health, worrying about getting fired, all the things that we're talking about. That's not to say that bad things don't happen, that not at all. But when you're worried about it and it's based on very little or nothing, that's anxiety talking. And it comes about in pieces where you start to see these themes emerge. So the best thing that I have found to work through this is to get into action. If you're worried about your health, this has nothing to do with work, but if you're worried about your health, make the doctor's appointment. Just make the appointment. That
Right.
will bring you some relief. Now, there's a lot more to it, but that is the best thing that I have found, is to take one small action. And the other side of that is, if you're good at something, put it to the test and track the data. You
Okay.
can I've worked with people on their resumes before, and I'll do an interview with them to understand more about their background, and I'll put the resume together, and they're so excited about how great they are from reading their own resume because it's data. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yes.
And
Stick to the
like
facts, not the thought.
ex- exactly, exactly. And then once you start to see, you could even start with this, could this be anxiety? Let me see. You can just approach it with curiosity. You don't have to call it a liar like I do and yell at it. It's like Kevin McAllister, look what you did, you little
You little
jerk.
jerk. You anxiety jerk. Very helpful. The last lie is you have to spend all of your time with me. I know for myself, worrying has a way of taking over for me.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of comforting, even though I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I'm worrying, then that means I've already gotten I'm already on it. I've got it taken care of.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
don't
a
worry. I'm already worrying about it. It's
yeah.
not going to sneak up on me.
Yes. That's the hypervigilance we were chatting about before, and it
Yeah.
also gives you a sense of control.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's why action is medicine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a t-shirt? Action is medicine?
I
Just
love
jot it
that.
down. Helen in HR, whoever. Write that
Somebody
down for us.
quickly.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people don't do their actual, even a hobby. Somebody will say, I really love golf. I really love painting. I really love pickleball. They buy all the equipment, get everything. I go once and that's it. You get stuck in your mind. Action, action, action. I know for you and I, working on the business together, I've had to really, just with how busy we are, I've had to really just say, this is scheduled and it's happening, and force myself to do it. That's the same thing with getting up early and going to work out. I think this is what the Atomic Habits book was talking about with systems, creating
Right.
systems for yourself, because you'll find if you worry, you feel like
Yeah.
you're doing something about it, like you just said. And that is
Right.
comforting. Oh, don't worry. I'm just going to worry about this. And then it's your mind's way of soothing you to say, as long as I'm worried, then the thing, I'm controlling it. I've got it covered. But you're putting the gas pedal on the worry, rather than if you do something related to the thing you're worrying about. Can you see how that could work, Jenny?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you're taking action instead of staying stuck in your mind. You take action on it and it
And
kind of diffuses it.
exactly, you're disproving it.
Right. Yes.
And you're actually making the situation better by doing something. And I think people get into procrastination mode of actually doing something because they think of the whole of the problem or the thing that could happen, rather than, I think it's just break it up and say, okay, I'm worried that I'm going to be fired. Everyone's advancing in all these different softwares and I don't know anything about them. Google or go on YouTube and say, is there a 1-minute video on how to learn this, on something that could help me learn this software? Do anything about what's under that umbrella of worry.
Yeah. I like to think of it as being at the beach, getting in the ocean, and seeing, you're out there just swimming around, doing your thing, and you see a huge wave coming, right?
Yeah.
And you're worrying, like, oh my gosh, this thing's gonna nail me. It's gonna crash right into me. So it's like I could either let it crash on me and deal with that outcome, or I could either dive through it or be prepared to swim with it and ride back to shore.
Yes.
I just had that visualization.
I love that. And that's another thing with taking action.
Yeah.
I'm calling out what's happening here, and
Yep.
these are my choices. And the paralysis of fear is the thing that makes you not do anything. So you have no sense of control in actuality. Then the wave is in charge, not you.
Right. That exactly.
I love that.
I say dive through it.
I think metaphorically, I love that as a metaphor and and a realistic approach to a wave.
We'll be at the beach one day and be like, Allie, look what I'm doing. I'm taking action. No, but seriously, it's a part of life. The waves will never stop coming at you.
I guess now you know why I'm always talking about continually work those muscles of taking action in whatever way you can toward your goals. And then have a little compassion for yourself to fuel that continual tiny process of success. Build your confidence because you get the data.
So the more you dive through the waves, the less scary they feel.
Exactly. The wave was never the enemy. Just the fear of it. Bring it on.
Yep, bring it.
Well, I think that's enough saltwater talk.
Never
Sand
be enough. Let's get him to sand.
and
A
sunscreen.
fruity drink. Yes.
Yes.
Let's get him there.
The ocean breeze.
Mm-hmm. The nice sandwich.
A sandwich like sand in your lunch?
No, I don't like that.
No. That's why I'm a drinks only beach kind of person.
I know. You don't like to eat at the beach.
Unless there's a deck involved and it's raised up, I'm always thinking that sand's going to find my turkey, you know?
I know. And that is the worst surprise.
A chip is a good crunch on a sandwich, but sand on a sandwich, no, it's not the crunch I'm looking for. And we've brought it back to food. It's a talent. It just keeps happening. We thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. We cannot wait to meet you here again soon on our next episode.
The Price is Right.
Well, I don't even know what we'll be talking about next episode, so you'll have to tune in and see. Maybe Bob Barker will be there. Maybe Drew Carey. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
don't hold us to it.
Don't hold us to it. Probably Food Talk will be there. We can count on that.
Absolutely.
We'll be with Guy Fieri rolling out. We hope you all have a wonderful week, and we hope the stuff on today's episode was helpful, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, have a great week.
Bye.